The Chicago Manual of Style, otherwise known as CMS, is a common citation and formatting style. Its author date style is used by the physical, natural, and social sciences and requires using in-text citations to identify sources as they appear in the text. It is important to remember that CMS has a notes and bibliography style as well. However, this tutorial will focus on the author date style. This tutorial will discuss basic author date formatting, how to incorporate in-text citations, how to format block quotations, and how to create common reference page citations. Let's begin with basic formatting. A CMS formatted paper will be typed using Times New Roman and the font size should be 12. Most of the paper will be double-spaced with 1-inch margins on all sides, and it will include a title page. The majority of your paper should be double-spaced. However, there are a few exceptions to this rule. Your name, course, and date information on the title page, your cited sources on the reference page, and any block quotations in the paper will be single-spaced. Here is an example of a CMS title page. It will include the paper's title written 1/3 of the way down from the top of the page. It will also include your name, the course information, and the day that the paper is due. This information should be single-spaced, centered, and written several lines below the title. Lastly, there is no page number on the title page. Page numbers will begin on the first page of the text. Additional CMS formatting elements include the body of the paper and a separate reference page. Let's discuss basic author date in-text citations. Many sources will only have one author. This type of in-text citation consists of the author's last name, followed by the year, followed by a comma, and then the page number. If you mention the author's name in your sentence, you don't have to include it in your in-text citation. In this citation, the year should be included in parentheses directly after the author's name in the text. The page number should be included in the parentheses at the end of the sentence before the final punctuation. Some sources have more than one author. Here's an example of a citation with two authors. It includes the last name of both authors separated by an and. Like with previous citations, this is followed by the year, a comma, and the page number. However, if a source has 4 or more authors, you do not need to list all the authors' names. The citation should include the last name of the first author, followed by et al. Then include the year of publication, a comma, and the page number. If the information you're using is found on multiple pages, you will need to include all these pages in your in-text citation. In this type of citation, include the name, year, a comma, and the page number as usual. For the page number, however, indicate the page range by including the first and last page numbers of your source and separate them by a hyphen. There may be times that you need to cite a source from a web page that lists an author. If the web page has an author, your citation should simply include the author's last name and the year. Notice in the example there is no page number. Because web pages do not have stable pages, it is okay to not list a page number within the parenthetical citation. However, many web pages have no authors listed. In this type of citation, you should include the name of the web page followed by the year. If there is no date of publication for your source, replace the date with the abbreviation ND to indicate no date. Now, let's discuss how to format a block quotation in author date style. Any quotation you incorporate into your paper that is 5 lines or longer should be formatted into their own block of text. A block quotation should be indented 1/2 inch, be single-spaced with a double space between the paragraphs, not have quotation marks around the quote, and in addition, the in-text citation comes after the final punctuation. This is an example of how a correctly formatted block quotation should look in your paper. The quote consists of 5 lines or more of text, is indented 1/2 inch from the left margin, is single-spaced with a double space between the paragraphs, and it does not have quotation marks. The unique formatting of the quote tells the reader that it is a quote. Lastly, the parenthetical citation is placed after the final punctuation. Let's wrap up by talking about how to create a reference page in Chicago Manual of Style author date style. But first, let's talk about how to create hanging indents in Microsoft Word. Before typing the references on the page, you will want to create a hanging indent. To do this, click on Paragraph, then under Special, choose Hanging. Under By, make sure it says 0.5 and click OK. You can create hanging indents in Google Docs as well. Please check out our handout on how to format academic papers in Google Docs. This is an example of what a reference page would look like. The information that you'll include in a citation is different depending on what type of source you are using. Let's discuss how to format some of the most common types of citations. For a book with one author, list the author's last name, a comma, their first name, and a period. Next, include the year of publication followed by another period. The book's title should be typed in italics followed by a period. And finally, include the location of the publisher followed by a colon and then the publisher's name. Let's look at an example. Notice that the title of the book is italicized and each element of the citation is followed by a period. The citation is the same for a book by 2 authors. However, after listing the first author's name, include an and then the first and last name of the second author. In this example, the first author is listed with his last name first, a comma, and then his first name, while the second author is listed first name, last name. Also, note that the year of publication is listed next to the citation. The citation for an online journal article should include the author's last name and first name followed by a period. Then, include the year of publication followed by a period. In quotation marks, insert the title of the article, making sure to put the period before the closing quotation mark. Include the journal title in italics, a comma, the volume number, another comma, and the issue number if applicable. Follow this information with a colon and list the page range where the article is located within the journal. Lastly, include the DOI, the digital object identifier, or the URL of the article. In this example, notice that the volume number, 115, is followed by a colon and then the page range of the article within the journal. The last type of common citation is an article from an internet site. Include the author's last name, a comma, and their first name. The next element is the web page name, which should be put in quotation marks. Then, type last modified and include the date of the most recent modification in month, day, year format. Finally, add the website's URL. Notice that the author of the example is the Plastics Industry Association. Sometimes organizations are authors of web pages, and in those cases, you will list the organization name as the author. If you have more questions, please feel free to visit Germanna's Academic Center for Excellence Writing Center.